There's a phrase in the Bible that almost no one notices. It's hidden in the middle of an ordinary chapter, out of sight, almost as if someone tried to hide it on purpose. But if you were born under the sign of Scorpio, that phrase should be tattooed somewhere in your emotional memory, because it explains, with frightening precision, why you've never been able to be like the other people around you. In Luke chapter 10 verse 19 it says that power was given to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing would harm you. Stop for a second here. It's not about stepping on a creature on the ground. It's about authority. It's about someone deliberately choosing to use the image of the scorpion to represent what most frightens the average human being. And that's exactly where most people are wrong about you. They think you are the danger. They think you are what needs to be avoided, controlled, feared from a safe distance. But no one has ever asked you what it truly means to carry within yourself the symbol that represents the very fear of others. You felt it, haven't you? That strange feeling that people recoil from you even before they get to know you, as if your silence were already a threat, as if your gaze already said more than any word could ever say. This is not by chance. This is recognition. There is something in you that the world recognizes before understanding, a kind of intensity that doesn't fit into elevator conversation, a kind of depth that bothers those who have only learned to live on the surface. And the most curious thing is that this same characteristic that pushes people away is, according to that hidden verse, exactly what carries authority. Not weakness, authority. Think about how many times you've been called too intense, too serious, too dangerous, without anyone being able to explain exactly why. Think about how many times you've wondered if there was something wrong with feeling everything with this depth, with being suspicious with this precision, with keeping secrets that even you don't know where they came from. And what if, in fact, none of this were a flaw to be corrected? What if it was, from the beginning, a form of power that no one taught you to recognize? The serpent and the scorpion, in ancient symbolism, represent that which attacks in secret, that which wounds without warning, that which carries venom in silence. And yet it was precisely about this image that authority was spoken of, and not destruction. This changes everything, because it means that perhaps you were not born to be controlled by your own emotional poison, but to learn to govern it. And there lies the first crack in the story they told you about yourself. Because since childhood, in one way or another, someone tried to convince you that feeling so much was an exaggeration, that distrust was malice, that needing time to open up was coldness. And you, without realizing it, began to believe that you needed to explain yourself for existing the way you do. But pay close attention to what that verse doesn't say. It doesn't say to eliminate the serpent. It doesn't say to destroy the scorpion. It says to step on it, to bring it under control, to transform that which could hurt into something that sustains. This is different from denying your own nature. This is learning to wield your own power without drowning in it. And perhaps that's exactly why you never felt completely at home among people who only know how to live in easy lightness, without depth, without silence, without that ability to look inside until you find what's hidden beneath everything. You weren't made to live on the surface. You were made to descend, still without an answer to what that truly means, without knowing deep down what to do with this intensity that has always been yours and never had an instruction manual. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book. The 12 Laws of the Universe that help this zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy doesn't talk about easy magic or ready-made formulas. It talks about what happens when someone decides to stop running from their own depths and finally begins to use them as a tool. For a Scorpio, this isn't distant theory, it's immediate recognition. Because you already know, in your body, what it's like to feel someone else's envy clinging to you without understanding why. what it's like to carry an energetic weight that isn't yours but insists on settling in. This book is about learning to identify this, name it, and above all, stop absorbing what doesn't belong to you. Right now, while these words still echo within you, a part of you is recognizing something that never had a name. This discomfort you feel now is no accident. It's the first sign that something within you has known this for a long time, just waiting to be spoken aloud. And it is precisely in this state, still open, still sensitive, that small decisions take on greater weight. Not later, now. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, at what point in your life did you first feel that your intensity scared someone you loved? Perhaps you've never noticed, but there's a pattern that repeats itself throughout almost your entire life. You test people before trusting them, not because you want to manipulate them, but because you've been deceived enough to know that the first version someone shows of themselves is never the whole story. And this, which seems like distrust, is actually a refined emotional survival mechanism honed over many silent disappointments. The problem is that no one taught you to distinguish between protection and imprisonment. You learned to close the door so well that sometimes you forget to open it, even when you want to. And then comes the question you've probably asked yourself alone, late at night, without the courage to say it aloud. Am I the one who pushes people away? Or is it that they never knew how to stay? The answer isn't simple, but it begins to appear when you understand that the verse about stepping on snakes and scorpions never spoke about pushing the other person away. It spoke about mastering your own poison before it decides for you. There's a scene that repeats itself, almost invisibly, within every Scorpio. It's the moment when someone gets too close, too fast, and a part of you is already calculating the risks before your conscious mind even realizes it. This isn't coldness, it's vigilance. You learned, at some point you may not even remember, that opening up too quickly is costly, and the highest price you ever paid wasn't the betrayal itself, but the time it took to trust again afterward. But there's a difference between keeping your own wounds to yourself and letting them decide who you let in. And it's precisely at this point that most of your energy is lost, trying to protect something that no longer needs to be defended in that way. You've grown. The old danger has passed, but your emotional body still reacts as if it were in the same scene as before. This is the part no one has told you until now. There's an ancient, almost forgotten image that walks hand in hand with the scorpion in almost all spiritual symbolism, the phoenix, a creature that needs to burn until it turns to ashes to be reborn. No one chooses this kind of rebirth. It happens because the previous life no longer fits within who you have become. And if you stop to observe your own story, you will realize that it is not made of smooth evolution, it is made of small deaths. Relationships that ended too abruptly for others to understand. Phases of life that you simply abandoned without explanation. Because deep down you already knew that continuing there would be betraying who you were becoming. People around you usually call this instability, but it's not instability, it's a cycle. A cycle that repeats itself because you are, by nature, someone who doesn't know how to live stagnant, even when you pretend you do. And here's the most uncomfortable paradox of all. You deeply fear abandonment, but you're often the one who abandons first. You fear betrayal, but you're capable of testing the limits of those you love, almost forcing betrayal, just to confirm what you already feared. This doesn't make you cruel, it makes you human, carrying a fear so ancient you don't even remember its origin anymore. But as long as this pattern remains invisible, it will continue to control your choices without you realizing it. The question that lingers is simple and unsettling. How many good things have you already destroyed before they could destroy you first? It was precisely this pattern of self-sabotage that made me return to that same digital book. The 12 laws of the universe that help your zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy shows with uncommon clarity how certain cycles of destruction come not only from within, but also from the external energy that clings to you without permission, feeding the very fear that already existed. Recognizing this changes everything. This content has already helped many people of your sign stop repeating the same story, but access is limited and may be removed at any time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's a curious detail about the scorpion itself, the animal, that almost no one mentions. It doesn't attack on impulse. It waits. It remains motionless, almost invisible, until the exact moment when acting truly makes a difference. This describes you more accurately than any generic horoscope ever could. You are not impulsive, you are strategic. You don't react in the heat of the moment. You process in silence, often for days, until the right response matures within you. And it is precisely this ability to wait, to observe, to feel before acting, that the quickest and most superficial people confuse with calculating coldness. It's not coldness. It's a depth that doesn't fit into instantaneous answers. But there's a silent cost to all of this. While you wait for the right moment, you often swallow everything you feel alone. And what isn't said, for a Scorpio, doesn't disappear. It just transforms into something else. Sharp intuition, a memory that never forgets a detail, a kind of intensity that one day, without warning, overflows. You've felt that before, haven't you? That moment when you kept so much inside for so long that when you finally spoke, the intensity itself startled even you. This isn't lack of control. It's living proof that within you lies a force that goes unnoticed until the day it decides to reveal itself completely. It was thinking about this silent overflow that I came back to recommend that digital book. The 12 Laws of the Universe that help the zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy teaches, among other things, how to transform this stored intensity into a clear direction, instead of letting it explode uncontrollably or be drained by those who only want to feed off your energy. For those who carry so much inside, having a practical map makes a real difference. Access is limited and may be taken offline without prior notice. The link is in the first pinned comment. There's a moment in every Scorpio's life that acts almost like a dividing line, a before and after, even if no one around them realizes that line exists. It's the moment when you stop trying to prove who you are to others and finally start to wonder who you really are when no one is watching. It seems small, but it's not. Because a large part of your life has been built on armor, a version of yourself fabricated to avoid being hurt again, to avoid repeating that old pain you never fully told anyone about. That armor worked. It protected you. But at some point, it also began to suffocate you, because no armor differentiates between what needs to be blocked and what needs to be allowed in. And that's where the most uncomfortable truth of all lies. Maybe you don't need more protection. Maybe you need, for the first time, the courage to remove some of it. Astrology likes to say that Scorpio is the sign of transformation, but it rarely explains what that truly costs. Transformation isn't a pretty process to watch from the outside. It's uncomfortable, it's lonely, often done in the dark with no one applauding, no one even knowing it's happening. You've been through this more times than anyone around you imagines. You've rebuilt who you are after losses that no one fully understood. You've learned to walk again after versions of yourself had to die for another to be born. And perhaps that, deep down, is the true similarity between you and that hidden verse in the middle of the Bible. It's not about stepping on someone. It's about traversing your own poison, your own darkness, your own fear, and coming out the other side whole, still intense, still profound, but now aware of the power that was always there, waiting to be recognized instead of feared. There's another side to this story that's rarely told because it's uncomfortable to hear. You're not just the one who feels too much. You're also the one who sees too much. You see the intention behind the pretty words. You see the inconsistency between what the person says and what they do. You often see things that the person themselves hasn't yet had the courage to admit about themselves. Over the years, this has transformed you into someone difficult to deceive, and consequently, someone many prefer to keep at a distance, because it's harder to maintain the mask around you. It's not about being judged for yourself. It's about no longer being able to pretend in front of someone who has already seen beyond the surface. This kind of perception, when not understood, can seem like loneliness, but in reality, it's just the price of seeing deeper than most are willing to look. And perhaps that's precisely why the true bonds in your life, the few that withstand the test of time, carry a different weight than any other superficial relationship. You don't connect easily, but when you do, it's rare, it's deep, it's almost irreversible. The people who manage to overcome your initial distrust and reach the truest part of you carry something that few will ever experience. The genuine intensity of someone who loves unconditionally, who protects without demanding anything in return, who stays even when it would be easier to give up. This is the other side of the Scorpion that almost never appears in generic internet texts. It's not just the stinger. It's also the loyalty that spans decades, that survives distance, that continues to exist even when no one else is watching. Perhaps that's why, even after everything, you never managed to fit into the simplified version they made of your sign. Scorpio was never about gratuitous venom, never about destruction for pleasure. It was always about the silent courage to look into your own shadows without looking away, to carry pain and still continue feeling deeply, to symbolically die so many times and insist on returning, each time more whole, each time more aware of who you are. The verse that opened this conversation never spoke of eliminating what scares others in you. It spoke of governing it with wisdom, of transforming what could hurt into something that sustains, protects, and illuminates those you truly love. There is no honor in pretending to be lighter than you are. There is honor in traversing your own depths and still choosing every day to continue feeling. What if, the next time someone tells you that you are too intense, too mysterious, too profound, you simply remember this scene? Someone, long ago, chose the image of the Scorpion to speak of authority, not fear. Perhaps it's time to stop apologizing for carrying within you what others can only see from afar, with apprehension. Perhaps it's time to inhabit your own depth without the rush to explain yourself. This has never been a curse. It has always been, from the beginning, a rare and silent kind of power.